Welcome everyone, today is Sunday and it is also the contractually obligated day where I have to show myself to the people. Now, if you're wondering why do I have this on my head, it's because I just came out from walking my dog and I believe I now suffer from hypothermia, from the cold. You might be asking then why is the window open, and I might be asking why was I walking a dog when I don't have a dog. However, for today, we are going over the remaining parts of the announcements of 11.1, which included, besides the bonus tuning and the changes for Mythic Plus, also changes for the raid, changes to the rewards of your feat of strength at the beginning of Season 2, as well as changes to the Delve rewards. Now, the biggest of the changes seems to be the new Renown Faction in 11.1. Now, Renown Factions typically are kind of useless. They are for the new zone. There will be a weekly or two, some dailies, and then you get your pets, your toys, some mounts, some transmog effects. Maybe the new Augment Rune will come from the Renown Faction, but not much else. However, from the current data mining of this new Renown Faction, the Galagio loyalty rewards, this Goblin, exclusive hotel system in the new zone, it will actually be extremely tied to the raid. If you even just look at some of these rewards that you can get from this new Renown Faction, you have things like you moving 30% faster inside of the raid, you have the food taking half the time to be eaten inside of the raid, you have a self-rest out of combat that you can get from the Renown Faction to practically have fast wipes and fast rests of your raid in the new zone. Then you can reach Renown 12 and increase the effectiveness of your consumables inside of the raid. You also have, with the step right up line of rewards, more and more increases in the amount of augment runes you can get by earning through this reward line, and even the final point, besides other obvious things like the teleports from the raid, the skip from the raid, even Renown rewards to give you a repair tool, as well as a removal of the Bloodlust debuff when you are inside of the raid, finishing off with the final points of the Renown Faction being one puzzling cartel chip, allowing you to trade for a powerful item of your choice from the raid at Renown 17, and then at Renown 19 the second chip. TLDR, DINARS, the deterministic raid item rewards you can find from this faction. So it's not a generic open world faction like we usually get from these patches, it's instead this time around a much more raid focused feature in the next season. Well, this of course is sparking two questions. Question number one, does this mean I have to get my raids to get my dinars? And number two, how grindy / abusable / exploitable is this feature going to be? Well, when it comes to basically how much grind do you have to do, it's not going to be anything close to what we had in previous seasons, because this is going to be much more important, because the raid buff, what we have this season, the Severed Strand raid buff that you build up every couple of weeks, over 8 weeks, to reach up an 18% damage and healing buff, is coming back. It's coming back in the form of a 3% damage and healing buff, stacking this time for 6 weeks up to 18% instead of 8 weeks like we have this season. So obviously when you have your 3% damage increase from the Renown system, this is not going to be able to be exploited or cheated through, or simply no-lifed 20 hours a day in order to get certain players to get to Renown 20 in the first week or so. It's going to be very limited, it's going to be very gated, so that everyone more or less will reach the same checkpoints of Renown every week. Likely, because of course it is tied to the raid, it will very likely simply give you rep as you kill raid bosses. There might be a weekly or a couple of weekly around the zone, maybe some dailies around the zone, but besides that it's just going to be from killing bosses. So no, it won't really be some sort of degenerate grinding to bring up this rep as fast as possible, but it is very likely still going to require you to get into the raid and do indeed kill bosses for your dinars. Still though, very many cool additions from the raid, which is nice to see. It's one of the first few times we have this much attention given to the QOL inside of a raid. The QOL continues, and this one is possibly even better, definitely for solo players, because we have the improvements of the Delve system, because now Delves are going to be part of the Crest system in Season 2, including Gilded Crests. So now the crests called Undermine, the Undermine version of Season 2. So the Gilded Undermine Crest, the Runed Undermine Crest, and the Carved Undermine Crest, now they will also drop from the Delve system. As you can see from the tooltip, from the data mined tooltips of the crests, you have the Gilded Undermine Crest, which is used to upgrade hero and myth track gear in Season 2, and it will be obtainable from Mythic Raid, Mythic Plus starting from +8, and then the Delves Gilded Stash, as well as the Delver's Bounty. So the final, the tier 1 stash, but also the 4 rotating daily bountiful delves you can still award you with Gilded Crests. So now you have the question, of course, of just how many crests you are getting from the delve system, because if a Mythic Plus key takes some 35 minutes, plus you might also fail it, plus you might take some time to assemble it, so it's a bit over 35 minutes, but it can reward you, if it's a +12, a 20 Gilded Crest reward. How much should a delve give you? So with the delve being at the minimum twice as fast as a Mythic Plus key, possibly more, and also being done soloable whenever you want, not requiring you to play with other players, probably the target crest number for a solo delve should be in the 6-ish range for a single completed delve. Might possibly even scale based on the tier of the delve. So it's like 4 Gilded Crests if you complete it at +8, and then 5, 6, 7, and 8 if you go all the way up as you keep increasing the level of the delve. Could be the level of the reward of crests from the delve system. Either way, it is still very, very good, of course, because now you have just unlocked a solo option for end game gear. It's possibly basically the first time ever we have a situation where a character could get the equivalent of this season's max item level gear just by getting Gilded Crests from the delves, from a solo type of content, and not from Mythic Plus or from the raid or even high rated PvP. So it's either way, no matter if the crests rewarded are going to be 2 or 4 or 6, it is still going to be a positive addition for an extra type of activity where you can earn basically end game level gear. It's even going to be better to fill time. Imagine you have 30 minutes before the raid, or 40 minutes before you have to go out, or before you have to go to work or school, or maybe you're just bored, you don't have anything to do, but it's 4 AM in the morning and you're not finding any groups or Mythic Plus. Now, doing delves is still a possible answer to still give you something, still reward you with something that is still end game level powerful thanks to the Gilded Crests. So this is also a pretty good W when it comes to the changes and the additions for Season 2. However, the W's stop here. I know, we started with a big W of the new Renown Faction Tide around the raid, we followed with another W with the Delve system. However, now that we talk about the Feat of Strength achievement, it's gonna be an L, because current Feat of Strength, which has been the same for also previous seasons in previous expansions, is that if you get 1600 PvP rating or ahead of the curve or Keystone Master in Mythic Class, you get yourself a token to exchange for a hero track level of tier piece. That's it. You get Feat of Strength +1 to your tier piece counter, right? So that's why most players only aimed at getting 2 tier pieces from the raid, because the third piece would come from your first catalyst charge, and then the last piece would be from your Feat of Strength, right? The change with this reward is that now the reward will be from the same achievements, so still ahead of the curve, 1600 PvP rating or Keystone Master, is that you will be given 1 additional catalyst charge as a reward. So the end result is the same. The end result is that you're either gaining a tier piece through the vendor, or you're gaining a tier piece through having an extra charge of the catalyst. So you can just transform a piece of gear into the tier piece. So the end reward can still be having an extra tier piece. However, there's a problem now. Now you have to have it in your bags. You have to have it actually already looted. You already need to have a piece. So in this case, if you're talking traditionally about tier pieces, you need to have a helmet, shoulders, chest, pants or gloves to even make use of this feat of strength reward. Because of course, what could happen, I don't wish it upon players, but what could happen at the beginning of Season 2 is that you get into Mythic Plus, you start grinding Mythic Plus, then maybe it's Wednesday and Thursday, you are raiding the first couple of nights, you are distributing loot, maybe you're even doing splits through normal and heroic for even more chances at loot, but between that and the reset of next week, maybe even with the addition of the Vault, you are left with your feat of strength, which has given you the extra catalyst charge, but your gloves are champion track. You don't want to transform that champion track piece into a tier piece. What you wanted to was to get the token from the feat of strength to exchange with a heroic raid level piece of gloves. Instead, now with this new system, you need to have already looted the item. That's why the previous system was so handy, because you could have held onto that token until the round of splits was done, the round of normal splits, heroic splits, and then you farmed a bunch of Mythic Plus, and then you wait for next reset, you wait for the Vault, and then you wait for the refarm again, and before entering, Mythic, your first day of Mythic progression and whatnot, after you have gotten all of the, possible loot you could have gotten up to then, you could have said, okay, I still have a crappy chest piece, a crappy helmet, that's where I go and turn in my token to replace those bad pieces. Now, with this new system, it just won't be possible. With this new system, you simply have to already have looted the item. So overall, it's just a flat L across the board, even when you account for alts and when you account for players starting to play later on in the season. What happens if you start playing 6 weeks in? If you start playing 6 weeks in, you already have multiple charges stockpiled up already. What do you care if getting this feat of strength gives you an extra catalyst charge? What are you gonna do with all of those catalyst charges? It would have been much better for characters, alts and newcomers or returning players later in the season to get the feat of strength to just straight up give you a piece of gear rather than give you an extra catalyst charge, which will have practically no value later on in the season. So even from a catch-up mechanism perspective, it's actually also a nerf for characters. So an overall L across the board with this change, which is also why, considering how simple it is, how easy it is to change this, we hope that this will be one of the things that will be reverted before the release of Season 2. However, sure, if you still have to make a net weighing of all of the changes for today, it's still a positive. The new Renown Faction for the many quality of life additions inside of the raid, plus the return of the DINARS system, plus the delves being made end game relevant are still major W's for 11.1, with this feat of strength only souring the mood because it is going to be effectively just slightly lower progression of your gear at the beginning of the season. So with this out of the way, on this Sunday, we've also gone through the last of the major impactful changes that were announced for Season 2. We started from the balance tuning, went through the changes to Mythic Plus, now went through the changes to the raid rewards because of the new faction, as well as the Delve Crest addition and this new feat of strength bad change. So for today on this Sunday, we are now done. It is now time to leave each other. As you can see behind me, we have the stack of Christmas presents we have to start opening to then repackage as gifts, as Christmas is drawing relatively close now. So with this out of the way, time to leave each other on this Sunday. Thanks, of course, as usual, for watching the video, together with, of course, supporting completely for free by liking and commenting down below, as well as subscribing to the channel itself. Now, with these things out of the way, thank you again for watching. See you guys tomorrow. And in the meantime, I don't know, I have thought just give them Amazon packaged. Like, why do I have to make the whole thing?